Here we are for another session of Chats About God. My name is Tom, and we got Dan here with us as always. It's going to be a fun conversation. Now, to frame this conversation, we're going to open it up with where I was in January of 1993. I had done something to where I knew the path I was on in my life had to change. I just felt this inner calling. God definitely was speaking to my heart. I ended up quitting both my jobs and going into United States Marine Corps boot camp. January 4th, 1993. Was at Parris Island, South Carolina. And if you ever saw that Goldie Hawn movie where she signed up for the Army a long time ago, she's like, well, I didn't sign up for this. The Army I signed up for is different. At Marine Corps boot camp, I was wondering, what the heck did I get myself into? Whoa, like this was crazy. What I realized is no matter how good I did, no matter how fast it was and how amazing it was, guess what was going to happen? I was going to get yelled at. Very loud, very obnoxiously, very close, and I was a piece of crap no matter what. And that was the rules of engagement. Now, and this is a frame for what our conversation is going to be here today. If I were to tell them, oh, time out, drill instructor, here's my thoughts about that. Let me explain how I feel. They're not going to be interested to hear that. They have their program. They have their rules of engagement. There's a way that I'm supposed to act, and I'm not supposed to break that. And what we're going to talk about today is how what Dan and I are talking about here at Chats About God with the new covenant, you're going to find that the church organizations, similar to Marine Corps boot camp, aren't that open to discussing the full aspect of the new covenant because it doesn't fit the program. And so that's kind of our opening for today's discussion and talking about the realm that we're in and the rules of engagement of how this new covenant fits in and may not fit in to the world's rules of engagement.
Yeah, it's kind of this world system. Right?
The world system, yeah.
I mean, the Marine Corps got their thing, and they do what they do for reasons, and all that's good, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's tough because you learn some things, right?
I learned some things.
Yep. And you want to communicate those things, but you're in an environment that says, we're not talking about this.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you this, I've known about the new covenant for 40 years.
And were your friends and family happy and excited for you to share your new revelations of the new covenant? How did they take it?
Well, I can't. Man, I bring up the new covenant, forget it.
There's boundaries in how much they're willing to.
The new covenant says, I'll remember your iniquities no more. Well, gosh, that's not going to fit into the program. Mm-hmm. Because the program's all about sin and what man does with their sin. Mm-hmm.
And if God
it's got the whole forgiveness thing wrapped around it and the confession thing, and we need to go see the bishop, and we need to see the priest, and we got to go talk to the teacher, and it's the world system. Mm-hmm. It's the world system. Yep. And so the Bible said in Hebrews that, after the death of Christ, he said the temple's no longer a building. Mm-hmm. Well, where do we go? We go to the building. We go to the temple. Mm-hmm. Well, who's the temple? We are. Well, who lives in the temple? God. So we've got God in us, who is all. So if God's all, is all enough. So if we need to know something, where do we go? Where's the source? Where is truth? Well, the truth is in you. So this is the thing you're going to hear over and over again from Tom and me, is that we're going to be always talking about coming to know the God in you. Mm-hmm. I mean, this happened to me a couple of days ago. I was over working out. Mm-hmm. And one of the trainers came out when I was leaving, and she said, well, Dan, honestly, Tom, I wish I could tell you what we were talking about, but I can't remember what we were talking about. Mm-hmm. But she said these words. She says, well, Dan, we just need to believe in ourselves. You got to believe in ourselves. And I looked at her and I go, well, I said, I think what I'd rather do is believe in the God in me.
Mm.
And there was a physical reaction. I mean, she just went like this. She dropped her head, she dropped her arms, and I kind of walked around in front of her. And I just kind of stood there, for a moment before she kind of like came up.
A reset, like
Yeah,
almost like a reprogram.
and she just, it just stopped in her tracks, and she said, wow, you're so right. She says, that's true. And she says, isn't that something that I guess I've just heard that for so many years? I think that's what I should be doing.
Yep.
And I said, listen, the new covenant is a renewing of your mind. It's a reprogramming of the things you've been taught by people you trust.
For your entire life.
Your entire life. It's
And
the thing you grew up with.
Believe in yourself is a common.
Listen.
How many times I've heard that in sports and in business? You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. So that's a common.
Well, that's the world system.
Yeah. But a small reframing, just like you shared with that trainer. Well, I'd rather believe in the God within me. Wow. That small reframing.
And I said to her, I said, we really need to get rid of this self-belief thing, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
She looked at me and she says, wow. Yeah, we do. I need to get rid of that. And I said, I can sit down and talk to you about it. If you ever want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But we need a reprogramming, man.
Mm-hmm.
We need a renewing of our mind and what we've been taught. And so what have we been taught? Well, we've been taught the old covenant.
Mm-hmm.
In the old covenant, it's about the sin nature of man. It's about the behavior of man. What are you doing with sin? Right? And so we get all that wrapped around, and we never get to the new covenant to find out the fullness of what Christ did on the cross, what the full impact of that was to the world. Okay? And so when I go and talk to a pastor, he's really not interested in talking about the new covenant.
What was one of the quotes? Well, I see what you're saying, but you're kind of taking it a little too far.
Well, he said it's not significant.
It's not significant. Yeah. You kind of.
He says it wasn't. The reason we don't talk about it is it's not significant.
Mm-hmm.
The new covenant is not significant. Wow.
That's all that Jesus
changed the whole world.
Was here to fulfill.
It was It's why he came. That's why he came. He came to fill the old covenant
And introduce the new covenant.
And it's not significant.
That's the whole purpose. Well, that's the point, and that's where we're here, hopefully, opening your eyes and hearts to hear this, because what I studied was very little, but what I did study, some things just didn't make sense. Forgiveness, but only within a certain realm of. As long as you do these things, they're forgivable, but this stuff's not forgivable. No, that's kind of pushing the limits.
Well, we say we believe in grace. You and I say we believe in grace. Well, what happens to us is when we start talking about what grace means to us under the new covenant, what we're told is, I've heard this many times, well, Dan, you're just taking that too far. Well, I'm with you, Dan, all the way up until, sin and the devil and hell and...
Because Jim just ran off with Sally, the next door neighbor, and that's not, come on, that's not, he left.
So,
that's too much. Or, Frank just killed Johnny, they got in an argument, he killed him, that's kind of crossing the line,
Right. So Christ, when he went into the temple, what happened? Well, he came into the temple to take the temple down.
Mm-hmm. And he stated that. He said,
I've come here to take it down. And so he was upset in the apple cart.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens? Well, we show up at the new covenant, and it upsets everybody. Well, why is it upsetting everybody? Well, it's upsetting everybody because that world system, that New Testament temple system is still
The old
talking about the new covenant.
The old covenant.
I mean, the old covenant. I'm sorry.
And the old wine and the new wine, the whole wine
They're
skin.
still mixing it.
And they're mixing a little.
We're saying grace, grace, but then we start talking about law.
And
Well, we ought to do this and we ought not to do that. I mean, that's the old covenant. Listen, the old covenant is the law. Listen, a law is a law. People want to tell me, well, hey, Dan, well, see, it's the laws in Leviticus. And hey, Dan, it's the Ten Commandments. Moses came off the mountains of the tablet, and that's the law. Well, the law is a law. If I say to my kids, hey, hey guys, we can't be doing that. You ought not to be doing that. Well, what am I doing? I'm making a law out of something. Okay? And it's exactly, if you look at the Gospels, that's what Jesus was doing with the Pharisees. He was making up laws. He was throwing laws at them. And so
raising the bar and raising the bar.
He was just raising the bar. And so that's what takes place. And that's why this is hard for people when we start talking about believing in God. When we start talking about what grace means, when we start talking about the new covenant, and what is the new covenant, and what's the impact, the full impact of the cross, that's just upsetting. It's upsetting.
And there's two words that you introduced me to that I've been able to come into more by knowing them: peace and rest. And peace and rest, if that's what Jesus, by fulfilling the old covenant and bringing in the new covenant, was to bring peace and rest, how many people who are mixing old with new and still stuck with the old covenant, it's more of a burden and more of a backpack of lashing yourself for continuing to do things what you interpret as wrong. And it doesn't bring peace and rest.
Well, we're still talking about behavior.
Yeah, right, behavior, right.
And as long as we're still talking about behavior, as long as we're still talking about disciplining our flesh, and as long as we're on a program to sin less, well, it's going to be tough to get peace and rest. Okay? So anyway, that's a part of what we grew up with, this old covenant teaching, in this outward appearance realm. This realm, that the foundation of this realm, the belief system of this realm is man's knowledge of right and wrong. This is right and that's wrong. This is good and that's evil. So the realm we live in, it's kind of like we've got all these perceptions of what this realm is. So we think we can make a utopia out of this realm. We can do it. We just gotta do certain things, and we can make this the Garden of Eden. And we're convinced we can do it. Well, this was not that intent. This is not the intent of this realm. The Garden of Eden is not the intent of this realm. We were brought out of the Garden of Eden. And so
there's going to be chaos.
This realm we live in, God's using all of these emotions and all of these things that you see taking place out there to bring man to himself. And that's what this realm's about. And so this realm is not about man out there trying to make everything fair and equal. Listen, guys, we can do that until the cows come home. Okay? You know what you're going to see out there? Strife and war. Because it's man out there trying to stamp out evil with his right and wrong, good versus evil belief system. And so that's the realm we live in. And so there's people, there's harm out there.
Well, I like how you said, stamp out evil. If we look at the world as a whole, this one group thinks this group is evil, and they got to stamp them out. This group sees them as evil, got to stamp them out, which creates the war.
Right, and the bottom line is they're both believing in a lie. They're both feeding off the same tree. They're both feeding off the same knowledge of right and wrong belief system.
Yep. And they both believe they're right. Right.
They both believe they're right.
We're right, they're wrong. Yep. And God's behind me.
And they think their way is the best for humanity.
Yep. And God's behind me.
And the other guy's way isn't the best for humanity. Because they think it's about humanity. Mm-hmm. They think this realm is about humanity.
Well,
wouldn't that make sense that humanity, would think, an old narcissistic man, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it make sense that man would think this realm is about man?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got people running around here that think, well, when I die, everything's going to be good because he's going to know that, I always tried to do my best for mankind. I was always kind and good to humanity. So, if God is a good God, then, I'm sure he'll understand. I try to do my best. And, honestly, if he's not that kind of God, then, well, I guess I was just a better being.
Yeah, right. I'm the God, yeah. I should have been.
I guess I probably should have been the God. Mm-hmm. You see. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of how we see things in this realm we grew up in.
And I see our body as its own little kind of example internally. There's billions of cells going on inside our body. And there's cells in my hand, there's cells in my leg, my heart, my brain, all these cells. And what I see in the humanity body is these cells, this hand thinks that this leg should be a hand. So we got to go to war with this leg. And we're the hands, and we're going to win because we're hands, and these legs got to go. And when we recognize we're all in this together, let's see how we can work together. But this realm has chaos infused in it. Right? There's going to be chaos. And our body has chaos. There's cells at battle right now inside every one of our bodies. The white blood cells going after, and then if cancer or something like that gets in there, it gets confused and they attack the good cells. So there's battles going on in our body here, as there's battles out in this realm.
Well, we could start up a hotline right now, and we could get all kinds of calls all over the world. And it would be, well, Dan, Tom, what about this?
This can't be right.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about salvation. Can we lose our salvation? Well, I'm a Christian and I still struggle with sin. We talked about that. Well, why in the world 2,000 years after the death of Christ are we talking about that stuff? Isn't that something? Well, we're talking about all that stuff. Well, what does he think of marriage? Well, what does he think of adultery? What does he, what does he think about signs and wonders? What does he think about tongues? The gift of tongues and the gift of this and the gift of the...
Behavior.
Holy crap.
Behavior.
Wow. The cross took care of all that. We got people out there still trying to figure God out. Well, if I just need him to give me a sign. Well, what are we doing? A man's out there they need a manifestation. And then I can believe in this thing. So, we just have to understand the realm we're living in. We're living in a realm that's an outward appearance, a physical outward appearance realm. And with a foundation of this is right and that's wrong. This is good and that's evil. And man is warring over that belief system. And so where are we? Well, We believe in God. Tom and I believe in God. Well, when we say we believe in God, it's real simple. It means there isn't anything else. So the other guy out there isn't doing something.
Right.
He's just a guy. He's just a guy that's not aware of the God in him. Mm-hmm. You see somebody out there, you're in a work situation or whatever, or you're in the military or whatever you're at, whatever's going on out there, you're in the middle of, and you look at a situation, you go, gosh, why can't this guy see this?
It's clear as day.
Holy crap. Everybody around him, what in the world? Can't you see this? Well, it's just a guy that is so caught up in himself and his self-belief that he's so in the way, and he's been so in the way for so long that he's never activated God. Well, how in the world is he going to see God and experience God when he's always in the way? When he's always believing in himself, never acknowledging who God is. So I'm believing in my will and my power, and I'm never acknowledging the power of God. So what are we doing? So what happens? Well, I go over to do a workout, I walk out, and my Christian trainer friend says, Dan, we got to believe in ourselves. And she's not even aware of what she's saying. Until, boom, her heart explodes. God blew up.
And the seed was planted. And then we had this conversation. Now, is that seed going to catch root, and will that be remembered? Well, that's where repetition comes in. That's where, I can read a book 3, 4, 5 times and pick something up new each time because I wasn't ready to hear what was waiting for me until I had the one seed settle in more. So that's where repetition comes in, because we hear, you got to believe in yourself since we've been young, and that's in sports and school and work. And so it's ingrained into our beliefs at such a level. So when you hear something like Dan shared, where I'd rather believe in the God within me, whoa, that just transformed her heart.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Reminder, we got to keep reminding ourselves.
I don't know, for some reason, when I talk to you, boom, and that seed just went and went boom. Right? And now you look at things that you've been taught your whole life, and you go, what in the world?
Right.
Why did I believe in that?
Yep.
It's so clear now. Now, why in the world that's so clear now? Isn't that something? Right. It's kind of like you're looking through Venetian blinds and you see a little slit. Mm-hmm. And you think you know something, and all of a sudden somebody goes and opens up the blinds, and you go, holy crap. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I thought I knew. And now it just, you guys, listen. If you're under the new covenant, this world out there, this realm out there, it's not going to make sense. It is not going to make sense to you.
It's like the Twilight Zone. But you're in it. You're in the twilight.
Listen, if you know the new covenant and you're sitting in a church pew, you're sitting in a temple, you're sitting in a church building, you're sitting in a synagogue. Guys, if you understand the new covenant, that's not going to make any sense to you. It's not going to make any sense to you anymore.
And you can see how others believe it and want to believe it. But when you know the new covenant, you know that what Christ came to do and what he fulfilled ended the old covenant and began the new covenant, which isn't
What
taught.
did it?
It's not discussed.
And so what did it end? Well, it ended that right and wrong, good versus evil belief system you keep hanging on to. And matter of fact, you can't even imagine a world
That's how the world. That's the
without. But that's the
Our phone,
world system.
This is an Apple iPhone. This has an iOS operating system on it. The world system.
That is the
right and
world
wrong.
system operating system.
Yep, and it's going to be that way.
It is so. Anyway,
But the good news is, the real good news is what Jesus fulfilled, right? And what he brought to the cross.
well, he fulfilled all of those things that say, "Thou shalt not" to you. And what did Jesus say? Well, he gave you a scenario in Joseph to say, "Hey guys, the problem is you saw it as wrong, and he meant it for good. You saw it as bad, and he meant it for good.
Yeah, from
You
our right.
saw it as wrong, and he meant it for right." And so that's what's going on.
In the world operating system, we can look at it and say, well, that can't be right, and that appears wrong to me. Well,
That ought not to be.
Right. And God knows.
And
about
listen,
all
God's
that.
smack dab in the middle of that. He's the one that put the scenario together. And listen, this happens to Tom and I all the time, man.
All the time. I have to
That
go,
we're like, wow.
God, I'm not
Father,
sure what you're
what in
doing
the
here.
world?
Right. I know
What
you
in
got
the
it.
world? But you know,
Thank you. Yeah.
that's what believing in God is. God, man, we're looking at this thing that, holy crap, that looks like a piece of crap.
All the time, right? Yeah, when you know this, look at what happened to Jesus and his disciples. They hung Jesus and
Father, what are you trying to
put
do
him on
to
the
me
cross,
here?
right?
Yeah.
They put him on the cross.
We got to get rid of that guy.
Yeah.
He's got to go.
Right.
He's got to go. Well, why do we think that changed?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Jesus walked out of the world, and we think that was the end of it.
Right.
We think the last Pharisee died, and then there's no more Pharisee.
Right.
Listen, if you're believing in this is right and that's wrong, hello, you're a Pharisee. If you believe this ought not to be, hello, you're a Pharisee.
Sure. So there's going to be emotions. There's going to be, turmoil. There's going to be, man, if I was in charge, this isn't how I would want it to unfold, scenarios. But when you know this, you can thank God in that moment and say, God, I don't know why. I can't see it from my perspective, how all this is unfolding. This is tragedies. This is difficulties, health issues, personally or with your family. Relationship issues, personally or with the ones you love, or financial issues with yourself or ones you love.
Yeah.
All the time.
Listen, you have to unlearn what you've been taught in order to understand the new covenant and operate in the new covenant. You have to unlearn what you know. And that's tough, So that's why when I talk to people, out in the street, they'll bring stuff up. And when I walk through it with them, it's like, it's always, holy crap, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I never looked at it that way before. To us, it's just, to me, it's just, I don't know how to think about it any other way anymore.
Yeah.
But
that gives you peace and rest. That gives
that's
peace
where the
and rest.
peace and rest is. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where, prior to knowing this, I'd look back and see what happened to the disciples, where they're chased out of towns and where they're beaten and where they're stoned, they're getting rocks thrown at them and stuff. And they did it all with, they knew that was just part of the deal. Like, they just thank God. And look, if I have to be put on the cross or be killed, that's what will occur. God's will is going to occur. And when we get rid of our own belief in the self and recognize God's will is in action, out there. And yes, there's going to be times I'm going to label some things. Well, that doesn't seem right, or that sucks, or all these things. God's will is involved in all of it. Yeah. And if we just can embrace and say, look, God's will is unfolding here. And if I were the one in charge, this probably wouldn't be the way I'd want it to unfold, but I'm not. So it's unfolding absolutely 100% accordance.
If I was running this place, I'd fix it.
Right. Yeah. Starting with let's get this one squared away.
That's why, Paul went to God a number of times. Man, take this doggone pain away. Take this thing away. What's going on with me?
And from my readings of it, Paul was following God's, what God's putting on his heart, he's doing. But with it comes a lot of this pain, a lot of this agony. Like, really? Do I have to get hit with rocks now?
Take this thing away from me.
Yeah.
Okay? And what did he say? He said, well, my grace is sufficient. Well, what kind of a fix is that?
It's not what we want to hear, right? It's not what we want to hear.
See, really what he was saying is like, hey, buddy, see me in your pain. Mm-hmm. Okay? Hey, let's get intimate together, me and you, about that pain that I put together. Let's get intimate together about that. Let's talk about that.
And in our perspective, in this moment, this sucks. This is terrible. This is that. And God's telling us, hey, look, let's get to know each other about this. Because God's perspective, guess what, is way well beyond what our perspective is. In this environment, in this realm that we're in, what we're dealing with, boy, that's ever important. But in the large perspective, that big puzzle comes together from God's view. It's like, no, it's actually a perfect puzzle piece. Everything, as imperfect as it appears to us, in our perspective, is absolutely 100% perfect in God's perspective.
Right.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Why in the world am we doing this? Why am I talking about this, after years and years? I mean, it really doesn't help me to be out there telling people there's no such thing as free will.
Well,
that's like I have gay friends, right? That's really not a easy path. Mm-hmm. But they're acting out what God's doing in them. And so what's happening? Well, I don't know why I'm getting in the middle of this, but what's happening? Well, the outside world is looking in at them and saying, thou shalt not. Mm-hmm. That ought not to be. Mm-hmm. That's not acceptable. Okay. Well, he's just acting out who God is in him. I don't know why he made me straight. I don't know why. But that's what he did. Okay? And so the outside world looks at that and they view that as some choice that's taking place. Oh, well, I guess God wants to go here.
Right. Now, so that same puzzle thing that I shared, God created it all before we even jumped into the scene. So picture this immense puzzle of the universe. It's complete. God did it all.
I know. We're looking at this from,
and so this one little piece is exact. Like if you've ever put a puzzle piece together, if you're missing the one piece, it's going to drive you crazy. It's somewhere in the house, you'll find it, and that one piece makes everything complete. So in all of that adversity, all those challenges, all that chaos, that you may say, this definitely is not God. That's the bad guy doing this. God has that huge perspective of the puzzle was completed before we ever arrived. And that's where Dan goes to there's no free will, because if you complete the whole puzzle before anybody even comes, it's already done. And Jesus and his part was in here, which led to us having the new covenant, right? So that all was done before Jesus showed up too.
Hey buddy.
All of it.
Hey buddy. That's perfect, man. Listen, the missing piece is the new covenant. And we just do not want to go there. Mm-hmm. We don't want to go there.
That's the true gift
The world system does not want to go there. And the world system is going to call that hyper grace. It's going to be out there telling you, well, you've gone off the deep end and that's too much. And, there's got to be a balance. Guess what? There's no balance in grace.
That's where it's hard to grasp. Well, you wouldn't forgive me if you known what I've done. God has
people aren't forgiving themselves.
Right. God has a grace beyond what we're capable of.
So the secret's in the mystery that actually it talks about in the Bible. The mystery of God is the new covenant. And so what do? Well, we go through searching the scriptures.
And if you're like me, you find out some things just aren't adding up. Like it's just not, something's missing. Well, the missing piece that humanity's not taught is the new covenant. You plug that in and it changes your frame. It changes the perspective, just like it changed the trainer.
Because they're under the old covenant. They're searching the scriptures. They're searching the written word,
which is the Bible represents the old covenant. It's all
and they're believing in the written word instead of the living word within them. And we don't know anything about that. Well, that's scary. Oh my gosh! Anybody can come up with anything. It can't be, right? Well, it's real simple, guys. It's real simple. There's only one message from the living word. I am, and you're not. Real simple. I am, and you're not. It's not complicated. So the Bible's telling man he can do it. Man in the Bible's telling God he can do it, and God's saying no, he can't. And so we're out there looking for God in a world system. It's kind of like God saying, okay. So you read a book and now you think you know me. Mm-hmm. You read a book and now you think you know me. You use the world system. You went to Bible school. You went to the seminary. You went to catechism. You went to this teacher and that teacher. You studied a book, like an accounting book, and now you think you know me. You go listen to the man, the teacher with the credentials. Show me your credentials, and then now I will listen to you. My gosh, guys, guess what? Spirituality has absolutely nothing to do with intellect. It has absolutely nothing to do with intellect.
Look who Jesus was hanging out with when he was around.
Guys, you want to know God? You want to know God? You got to shut up. And you know what? When I say that, I'm saying that to myself because I went through that. I had to shut up. I had to shut up. And I had to come to a place where I stopped believing I knew everything. And I had to say the words, man. Father, I don't know. But you do, so tell me all about you. Because I want to know all about you. And you know what? He's going to give you something. Man, I want to know today. Come on. Right?
It's a journey.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm saying is that I don't know when he's going to settle this next thing in you. You know? But all I'm saying is I started out with, Father, I know this, I don't know. I don't know. And so tell me about this realm I'm living in. And tell me about who you are and how you operate and how you think. Not how the world thinks. I don't want to learn from the world system. I don't want to hear the world teacher. I want to find out about you by you telling me. And I'm going to see you in all the things that take place. And I'm going to trust you in that thing. That thing that I see as bad, and you meant
Good.
for good.
I'm going to find peace and rest in that thing that I think is.
It's kind of like if you look into creation, the first chapter of the book, and you start going through each day, what do you find out? Well, where's man? Where's man? Let there be light. Well, where was man? Right? Well, when does man show up? Well, man shows up in the day of rest. That's when man shows up. So that's where we're supposed to be. I mean, we think we're supposed to be working we got to work here. We got some kind of like, God has given us a work. And we've got a role in this thing. And bring people into the kingdom. You know. Well, that's a part of the new covenant, is understanding that we're not in the equation. Man, it's hard. We're talking about all this stuff. It's hard on us. Well, it was hard on me. I get it. I really get it. I really get it. But guess what? It's not hard anymore. See?
It's going here and having those talks with God and trusting the intuition that's placed on your heart to think, say, and do what's the heart feels to think, say, and do. Like, we don't have notes here. We didn't have. What are we going to talk about today? I don't know. Here we go.
Yeah, I could talk anyway. One of these days, maybe we'll get a hotline and have people call us and
have conversations.
Talk about all kinds of stuff. But you just listen. You're just going to get a different perspective of the world you live in, and you're going to have a completely it's going to be renewing of your mind, and you're going to operate in all of these things, and you're going to look back and you go, wow, that I used to react.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There I go.
Yep.
Man, that was me. Mm-hmm. And you're just going to start seeing God in you. And man, that's a good place to be. Mm-hmm. That's a good place to be. And is our flesh ever always going to be is Tom and I's flesh always going to look good? I tell you what, it's going to look like whatever God wants to put forth out there at this moment.
That puzzle piece. We're right here. We don't know where the next puzzle pieces are on our journeys, but it's all got God's hand.
But when he produces something out of that flesh of yours and it gets you all concerned about it, well, that's just him. Hey, let's talk about this. Mm-hmm. Well, where does it start? Well, Father, I know you love me. I know you love me. But I'm hurting right now. I'm kind of hurting right now. So,
Thank you for figuring this out. I don't know how this is going to unfold, but thank you.
so the other day, I think it's Christmas Day.
Mhm.
My wife and I were talking about this. Here we are doing this podcast. Why in the world am I doing this? People already think I'm crazy. And you know what? What hit me was a long time ago, and I think I said this in a podcast. I heard somebody tell me that I was reconciled, I was justified, I was sanctified, I was made holy, and I was perfected. Somebody told me that. I mean, I visibly heard it.
Mhm.
I didn't know who that somebody was. I had to go look him up. I had to go figure out who it was.
Mhm.
But I heard the words, and it struck me, it shook me. And I said to my wife, I said, I'm just, it'd be good that at least one day somebody's gonna go, man, that freaking guy. He cared enough to tell me.
Yeah.
That's why, when we're walking on the street, I cared enough to stop and say, hey, I'm going to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
What's your name? Tom.
No.
And you had ears to hear. I mean, holy crap, that's all over the Bible.
Right.
Can you hear?
Right. Yeah. Can you hear? Yeah.
And so here's the good news, man. It's the new covenant. If you want to do a scripture search, how about you do that? Go look at the new covenant.
It's not the new covenant is not the New Testament. The new covenant is only mentioned a few times.
Well, it's the new covenant is talked about in Jeremiah 31, and then it's talked about in Hebrews 8 and 10. So it's there. But you got to understand, the Bible is a representation of the old covenant. Oh man, that's tough. So just understand, when you're reading the Bible, guys, the epistles and the disciples, guess what? The apostles, guess what? They didn't get it.
It was too big to get in that moment.
Listen, all they had ever seen from the Jewish people and all they had ever heard, what did they see? Well, they saw the temple.
This is right, that's wrong.
What did they hear? The old covenant message.
Don't do this.
They didn't know anything else. This Jesus guy shows up, and all of a sudden there's Jewish people coming out of the temple. They're getting persecuted by the other Jewish people and going, what in the heck? Get your butt back in here. Well, what did the Gentiles do? Well, they did what they knew.
Created a temple.
What did they do? They go created a New Testament church.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got the Vatican out there. This monster bureaucracy.
And the real good news was missed.
Wow.
The real good news of the new covenant.
Guys, the rock, the foundation, is the new covenant. That's our rock. That's our foundation. It's all based on faith. So, guys, if we need faith in order to believe and understand the new covenant, then let's go to God and let's ask Him for His faith with this. Because that's where faith comes from. Okay? I mean, I could talk and talk and talk about this, but anyway.
So let's leave them with the good news. So like the real good news, the good news of the New Testament church has told is missing out on the real good news of the new covenant. So fill them in on what the amazing, great news is with the new covenant. They can give them some additional news.
Well, that's why the new covenant, it says that one day I'll bring a new covenant. You know. And when He brought that new covenant was at the cross. Okay, so there was a death, and that was Christ, and He ushered in the new covenant. So that old covenant message that says we ought to do this and we ought not to do that. Thou shalt not. Christ fulfilled that message. He fulfilled that belief system. And you as man died with Christ and was resurrected with Him as a new creature. Dead to that old belief system of this is right and this is wrong. That dualism. You're dead to that. And so He said you died to sin and now you're a slave to righteousness. Because why? Because I have taken you and I have imputed righteousness upon you. So I can sit here with my stinking flesh and I can look at it and go, this is who I am. Or I can start believing in what He said He did to me. And that is what believing in Jesus Christ means. I'm believing in the finished works of Jesus Christ. So I'm not believing in my flesh anymore and saying this is who I am. I'm saying I, from now on, am going to believe in the God I say I believe in. And I'm going to believe in the finished works of His Son. And when He says that He reconciled me, He justified me, He sanctified me, He made me perfect, and He made me holy, I'm going to start believing Him. And I don't know why I can do that, Tom.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know this, that doesn't come from me.
Right. Seek and you shall find. You were seeking. You knew something just wasn't adding up. As I knew, just things just aren't adding up to like 2 + 2 = 4. Something was 2 + 2 = 5. And then you figured this out and God spoke and you were able to reconnect with the living Word and attach to that.
Man, I just hope you guys can get a hold of that.
Yeah. There's a million different things we could be doing.
It's a life changer.
And Jesus and God has put it on our hearts to have a conversation, have a chat about God here. And we enjoy it. And as Dan mentioned, who knows, in the near future we might have a phone line you can call into. And in the meantime, there is an opportunity for you to leave your comments below. We see the comments. We'll reply to the comments. And we want to hear your feedback. We want to hear your questions.
Yeah, if you got something you're wondering about with Scripture or something, you went to church and somebody told you something, or your Christian friend told you something, or you're hurting about something, man, or you got something going on with your marriage, and man, that's a big deal, man. Believe me, Tom and I get that. Believe me, we get that. So, man, if you're hurting, we want to be able to see if we can help you with that.
And that, I mean, just like we talk about with Paul and all the other disciples, knowing all this doesn't remove us from what others would see as this is bad, that's good, that's right, that's wrong. This is in our own lives. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of stuff. That stuff's going to still be there, but you have peace by having someone to go to and talk to God about that, and trust in that, and take one step after the next, and enjoy the journey. Because what I've heard, none of us make it out of here alive anyhow, so we might as well enjoy this journey. And for me, there's been nothing more than finding that peace and rest and joy in learning about the new covenant, and having it now make sense. That's how this now makes sense. Nothing that we have to do to fix things. And, I mean, God's got that puzzle completed. It's now up to us to follow our intuition, which is the connection with God, and take one step after the next. Like what's said in the Bible, you'll know what to say when it's your time to say it. That's scary to God. You'll know what to do when you're in that, trust God and watch how it unfolds with some peace and rest, even with what many would call chaos, frustration, difficulties, challenges, adversities, tragedies, personally, professionally, for yourself, for others. That's what's happening out there.
Man, if I could do this for you, I would, but
We're just here.
you got to come to your place, your end with this belief system, and when you do, He's going to be sitting there waiting for you. So anyway, I hope you can get a hold of this, and I hope this helps at all. I mean, I just want you to come into peace and rest about this thing that you're walking around in. Mm-hmm. And anyway, we love you.
Love you. Chat with you soon. Leave your comments below. Look forward to chatting with you next time.